There are moments in history that seem like they pass without meaning, like another day lost to the calendar. Yet there are other moments that carry weight, that seem to whisper with eternity, that carry within them the seed of destiny. A divine appointment is not just a date, it is a summons. It is a time chosen not by man, but by God. And when He chooses a moment, it cannot be erased, ignored, or dismissed. 6 September 2025 is not a number to glance at and forget. It is an appointed time, and when heaven speaks of an appointed time, it means that the season of waiting has collided with the hour of fulfillment. There are days you remember because you lived them, and then there are days you remember because they changed you. This day belongs to the second. It is not that the day itself has power, but the one who set it apart does. And when He speaks into a moment, that moment is no longer ordinary. It becomes charged, holy, prophetic, destined. Think of how the Creator ordered the universe. He did not only create matter, He created time. He set the sun and moon to mark days and seasons. He divided light from darkness. And He appointed times for sowing and for reaping. The God who set the heavens in motion tells you that a particular time has been marked. You cannot treat it lightly. For within that day may lie the breakthrough for which you have prayed, the answer for which you have cried, the door for which you have waited. And there is something profound about a moment, when the unseen converges with the seen, when the eternal intersects with the temporary, when heaven says now. You may think of how many times you have asked, when, Lord, when will the breakthrough come? When will the season change? When will the promise be fulfilled? And for so long, it may have felt like silence. But the silence of God is not His absence. It is His preparation. Just as the seed grows in the soil unseen, so too the promise grows beneath the surface until the time of its manifestation. 6 September 2025 has been appointed for such a manifestation, a crossing over, a shift from what was into what must be. It is as if the pages of your life's book are turning, and that date is the next chapter written long before you were born. This is why you cannot afford to dismiss it. This is why you cannot live through it as if it were ordinary. Because when God marks time, He is calling you to readiness. He is summoning you to open your eyes, to awaken your heart, to prepare your spirit. It is the day that will divide what came before from what comes after. Some will ignore it and walk past their appointed blessing. Others will awaken to it and step into destiny. Which one will you be? That choice is in your hands, but the time has already been chosen. So let the urgency sink in. Let the weight of it press upon your soul. For heaven has whispered a date, and that whisper is not casual. It is divine. 6 September 2025 is not merely a day to mark on your phone's calendar. It is a day to mark upon your soul. It is a day of encounter, of change, of the unfolding of divine purpose. And when the day arrives, those who are prepared will see that what God appoints, no power on earth can delay. That is the power of a divine appointment in time. Life is not random, and the days of your existence are not scattered like dust in the wind. There is an order, a rhythm, a divine orchestration that undergirds everything you see and everything you cannot see. Seasons exist not only in nature, but in the human soul, in the unfolding of destiny, and in the journey of faith. Just as winter cannot be rushed into spring, and summer cannot be held back from yielding to autumn. So the seasons of your life are written and set by the hand of God. To understand this is to understand that 6th of September 2025 is not an accident, not a coincidence, but a season ordained for change, for breakthrough, for alignment. When God sets a season, no power of darkness can extend the old or delay the new. Consider the farmer who labors in the soil. He may till the ground, plant the seed, water the rows, and guard the field. But no matter his effort, the seed will not sprout until its appointed time. There is a hidden wisdom in this, for it teaches us patience, and it reminds us that our lives are not ruled by chance, but by timing. Many have wondered why their prayers linger in the air without an answer, why their doors remain shut, why their vision has not come to pass. It is because every promise is tied to its season. And until the season arrives, the promise waits. But when the season comes, what once seemed impossible suddenly becomes inevitable. This is why the announcement of a date matters. It is not that the day is magical, but that the season it represents is holy. 6 September 2025 speaks of a turning, a shift in atmosphere, a divine clock striking the hour. It is the moment when the silence of waiting yields to the sound of fulfillment. And when God declares a season of change, He is not simply speaking to your circumstances, He is speaking to your very identity, to your calling, to your destiny. It is not only about what will happen around you. It is about what will happen within you. For the true shift is not in the weather of life, but in the posture of the soul. You may feel that you have lived too long in winter, that the frost has held your dreams captive, that the ground of your life is too barren for growth. But just as spring always comes, so too will your season of change. No winter lasts forever. No night refuses to yield to morning. And when the day of change arrives, everything frozen begins to thaw, everything buried begins to rise, and everything closed begins to open. 6 September 2025 stands as a sign of this truth, that your waiting has not been wasted, that your struggle has not been in vain, that your tears have watered the ground of the miracle that is about to bloom. When God sets a season, He also calls His people to prepare. Just as Israel was told to be ready on the night of Passover, just as the disciples were told to wait in Jerusalem until the Spirit came, so too must you be awake to the hour. Do not be found asleep when the moment arrives. Do not be distracted when the divine appointment knocks upon your door. For the season will not wait for you, but you can be ready for the season. And readiness is not about having all the answers. It is about having faith. It is about trusting that the one who ordains the times will also provide the strength to walk through them. So understand this truth deep in your spirit. God is the Lord of seasons. He is the one who opens the appointed hour. He is the one who closes it. If He says the time has come, then no force in heaven or earth can stop what He is about to do. 6 September 2025 is the mark of a season of change. And those who walk in faith will not only see it, but will live it. There are chains that are not made of iron, yet they bind with greater strength than any metal forged by human hands. These are the chains of fear, regret, failure, guilt, and the patterns of the past that replay like a cycle you cannot escape. So many walk through life carrying invisible prisons, smiling on the outside while locked inside. But what happens when heaven declares a time of release? What happens when the God who split the sea, who broke open the prison doors of Paul and Silas, marks a day and says, "No more"? That is what 6th of September 2025 represents. A breaking of cycles that have held you captive, a divine interruption of patterns that were never meant to define you. The past has a way of disguising itself as destiny. Whispers, "You will always be the same. You will always struggle. You will never rise." It uses your history as evidence against your future, chaining you to the memory of what was. But those are lies, and lies only have power until the truth arrives. The truth is that you were not born to remain stuck. You were not created to repeat yesterday, and you were never intended to be defined by your mistakes or your wounds. The power of a divine appointment is that it collides with the lies of the past and shatters them. The chains that told you your story was over will break, and you will discover that the author has written a new chapter. Think of Israel in Egypt. 400 years of slavery had branded them as servants, but one night changed everything. One night of deliverance rewrote their destiny. One appointed hour broke centuries of bondage. What had seemed permanent was undone in a moment. That is the nature of God's timing. It does not always come when you expect it, but when it comes, it cannot be stopped. And when it comes, it does not ask permission from Pharaoh or the chains themselves. It simply declares freedom. In the same way, 6th of September 2025 is not just a date. It is a summons to leave behind the Egypt of your past, to walk out of the cycles that once owned you, and to step into a freedom that has already been secured. The chains of the past are often strengthened by the voice of shame. Shame tells you that you are unworthy, that you are defined by your failure, that you cannot be used. But shame loses its voice in the presence of grace. And grace is not bound by your timeline. It moves when God commands. When He says it is time to be free, every accusation falls silent. Every failure loses its grip. Every regret is swallowed by the power of new beginnings. The date marked in heaven is not just about the removal of chains. It is about the awakening of identity. For once the chains fall, you will no longer walk as a prisoner. You will walk as one chosen, as one redeemed, as one sent with purpose. Cycles end when someone refuses to bow to them any longer, and God is giving you the strength to be that someone. You may have inherited patterns, you may have lived under repeated failures, but none of that has the final word. The final word belongs to the one who said, "Behold, I make all things new." When He declares newness, the old cannot stand. 6 September 2025 is the sound of newness echoing over your life, a day when the chains that once seemed unbreakable will be nothing more than fragments beneath your feet. So, do not fear the breaking. Do not resist the change, for the sound of chains falling is not the sound of loss. It is the sound of freedom. It is the sound of destiny awakening. And when the day arrives, you will know that the past cannot follow you into the future God has prepared. That is the promise of a divine appointment of release. There comes a moment in life when what has been buried within you can no longer remain hidden. Deep inside every person lies a purpose, a reason for which they were created, a calling that resonates with eternity. Yet for many, that calling has been muffled by the noise of the world, suffocated by fear, buried under disappointment, or delayed by distraction. But when God appoints a season of awakening, what has long been silent begins to stir, and what has been dormant begins to rise. 6 September 2025 is not just about events unfolding in the world around you. It is about the awakening of something within you that has been waiting for its time. You were not created by accident. Your breath is evidence of intention, your existence proof of design. The very fact that you are alive right now, in this moment of history, is not random. It means you are part of a divine assignment, chosen for this generation, placed here for a reason that is bigger than survival. Too many live only to exist, to get by, to repeat the same cycle of days until their time runs out. But you were meant for more. And the reason you have felt restlessness, the reason you have sensed that something inside of you is unfinished, is because purpose cannot be silenced forever. It waits, presses, it calls until the day of awakening arrives. Think of a seed buried in the soil. For a long time, nothing is seen. To the eye, it looks dead, forgotten, wasted. But under the surface, life is forming. And when the appointed season comes, breaks through the ground, unstoppable, alive, vibrant. That is what 6th September 2025 signifies, a breaking through of what has been hidden inside of you. A rising of the assignment you carry, a revelation of why you were placed here on earth. What once seemed silent will begin to speak. What once seemed dead will begin to breathe. And what once seemed small will begin to expand. The awakening of purpose is not always gentle. It shakes you, it disrupts you. It refuses to let you stay where you are. It may even make you uncomfortable because true purpose demands change. It calls you higher. It pulls you out of the familiar, makes you walk into places where fear once held you back. But with that call comes power. The same power that awakened prophets, that sent kings into destiny, that transformed fishermen into apostles. And that same power is about to stir in you. You may say, but I don't know what my purpose is. Yet deep down, there have been glimpses. The things that break your heart, the things that stir your passion, the gifts that have always been in your hands. These are not coincidences. They are fragments of your calling, waiting for the moment to come alive. And the hour of awakening is near. 6 September 2025 will be the moment that compels you to stop running, to stop hiding, to stop silencing the voice within, and to finally say yes to the reason you were born. When purpose awakens, fear loses its hold. You no longer live in reaction to the world, you live in response to heaven. Your steps gain direction, your days gain meaning, your struggles gain context, because you realize you were not made to wander. You were made to fulfill. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. The awakening of purpose is irreversible, and it is powerful. So prepare yourself because the awakening is near. The date has been marked not only in time but in your spirit. 6 September 2025 will not simply arrive as another sunrise, it will arrive as a trumpet call to your destiny. And when it does, the question will not be whether you are called. The question will be whether you will answer. There are seasons when stepping forward feels like walking into a storm, when the unknown seems larger than your strength, and when the voice of fear grows louder than the whisper of hope. But destiny is never found in the comfort zone. It is found in the places where faith must rise above fear, where trust must outweigh doubt, where courage must take the first step even when the ground is shaking. 6 September 2025 will be a moment that demands such faith, a crossing over that cannot be entered with hesitation, but only with boldness. Will not be about seeing the entire road, but about trusting the one who walks with you on it. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move despite it. Fear will always paint pictures of failure, whispering, "You are not enough. You will not make it. You will not survive this." But faith answers with a different voice, saying, "Even if I am not enough, He is. Even if I cannot see, He already knows the way. Even if I am weak, His strength is perfected in me." Faith is not blind. It sees differently. It sees beyond the natural, beyond the obstacles, beyond the impossibilities, into the certainty of God's promise. And when a divine appointment arrives, it is faith alone that carries you through the doorway. Think of Joshua standing at the edge of the Jordan River. Before him was the promise, but between him and the promise was the flood. Fear could have told him to stay where it was safe, to settle on the wrong side of destiny. But faith called him to step in, and when he did, the waters parted. The promise was never on the safe side, it was always across the river. In the same way, your promise lies beyond the walls of fear, and 6th September 2025 will be the call to cross. You cannot enter this season clinging to the comfort of yesterday. You cannot step into what is coming while holding onto the fear that bound you before. The time has come for courage. Fear often disguises itself as wisdom. It tells you to wait longer, to gather more strength, to be certain before you move. But the truth is, certainty is not given before the step. It is given after it. The waters do not part while you stand on the shore. They part when your feet touch the river. The miracle is released not in hesitation, but in motion. That is the challenge and the beauty of faith. It requires you to step while everything in you trembles, to believe while every voice around you doubts, to move when the ground beneath you looks impossible. Yet in that moment of trembling obedience, heaven responds. Faith beyond fear does not mean you will never feel afraid again. It means that fear will no longer dictate your choices. It means that courage will speak louder, that trust will hold stronger, that hope will shine brighter. The life you long for, the purpose that waits for you, freedom you've prayed for. None of it exists in the place where fear rules. It all waits on the other side of faith. And 6th of September 2025 will not be won by those who sit in hesitation. It will be embraced by those who dare to walk forward. So let this truth anchor. In your heart, the God who calls you forward is the same God who goes before you. He has already prepared the path, already secured the victory, already written the ending. All that is left is your step. Do not let fear steal what faith was meant to claim. When the day comes, choose to move, choose to believe, choose to cross into what has been prepared. For the shift will not come to those who stand still. It will come to those who step forward with faith beyond fear. There are days that pass quietly, leaving little trace behind. And then there are days that divide life into before and after. A turning point does not come every week. It does not arrive with every sunrise. But when it does, nothing remains the same. 6 September 2025 is such a moment. It is not merely another day on the calendar. It is a marker in destiny, a line drawn in the sand, a doorway through which you cannot return the same way you entered. This day carries the weight of change, not the surface kind that fades quickly, but the deep and lasting shift that redefines who you are and how you live. The shift that comes is not only about circumstances changing, though they will. It is about you changing. It is about the inner transformation that alters how you see yourself, how you see the world, how you walk into every day that follows. Too many live their lives waiting for the outside to align. But the true breakthrough comes when the inside aligns with God's purpose. When you awaken to who you really are, when you recognize what has been placed within you, when you refuse to live one more day beneath the weight of lies, that is when life truly changes. And this appointed time is meant to do just that. It is meant to awaken you into a new way of being. Think of Saul on the road to Damascus. One encounter, one appointed moment, and his life was forever altered. He walked into that road a persecutor, and he walked out of it a messenger to nations. Everything that defined him before could no longer define him after. That is the power of a life shift. It does not take years to spark. It takes one divine moment, one word spoken at the right time, one encounter that reorders everything. 6 September 2025 will be such a catalyst, the spark of a shift that will ripple across the rest of your life. The beauty of a divine turning point is that it touches every part of your being. Your mindset changes first, the way you think about who you are and what is possible. Fear gives way to faith, doubt gives way to trust, hesitation gives way to boldness. Then your actions follow. You begin to live differently, speak differently, walk differently. Opportunities that once intimidated you now feel like assignments. Burdens that once crushed you now seem lighter, because the weight of grace has replaced the weight of striving. It is as though you step into the same world, but the lens through which you see it is entirely new. There is also a cost to such change. The life shift means you cannot cling to the same patterns, the same excuses, the same comforts. Requires leaving behind the familiar in order to embrace the future. It demands that you release the version of yourself that cannot walk into destiny. so that the version born of calling can rise. But though the cost is real, the reward is greater. For the life that lies ahead of this shift is fuller, freer, richer, and anchored in eternal purpose. The truth is, every person longs for this kind of moment, the kind that makes life meaningful, the kind that breaks the endless cycle of repetition. Yet few are ready to seize it when it comes. The challenge of 6th of September 2025 will be this: will you allow the shift to happen, or will you resist it and remain the same? Change is inevitable, but transformation is a choice. God may open the door, but you must step through it. He may declare the hour, but you must embrace it. So prepare your heart for a new beginning. Do not approach this day casually, for it is not casual. Approach it with expectation, with surrender, with readiness. Because when this appointed moment arrives, you will not walk away unchanged. It will mark you, it will set you apart, and it will propel you into the life that was always waiting. 6 September 2025 will be remembered as the day the shift happened, the day everything changed, and you were never the same again.